Mark Pennington. You know, many life insurance carriers struggle with long lead times for new products. And a lot of that reason is the fact that it just takes a long time to add new products to our policy administration systems. Now, according to a recent survey by LIMRA, that average time frame is about 40 weeks. Long time. And I think we can do better than that. You know, that's why I'm making this video, of course. I'm excited to show you how we can get that lead time down to just a week or two for supporting new products, no matter what the features of the product. You know, so over the next 20 minutes, you will learn how to make any new product launch kind of a walk in the park compared to what it is today. You know, ever since the beginning of my career, decades and decades ago, I've always been fascinated by the policy administration process. Now, I know that's a totally boring subject to most people probably, but it's always been fascinating to me how we can so often integrate new technology and new ways of thinking about policy values into our processes to get dramatic increases in productivity and efficiency. Now, I've personally created several policy administration systems and had some wonderful, wonderful experiences along the way. You know, it's always so gratifying when you can make a difference for somebody. I remember when I met my friend Ron. He was running a life company, and I just completed my most recent policy administration system. Well, he was running a life company, and he had this white-hot idea for a new product. It was a multi-funded flex-pay annuity with all kinds of options for bonuses and interest rate adjustments along the way. It was a really complex product. And he and his management team had been planning for weeks, but it was all starting to come together. The legal, actuarial, accounting, marketing, everybody was finally on board. And they could all see the massive potential for this new product. All but IT. Well, IT had been in on the planning too, of course, from the beginning, and expressed some mild reservations, but they hadn't really finished their analysis yet of the legacy system to determine the impact from their perspective. Well, they finally got the analysis done and handed it to Ron, and it landed like a ton of bricks. 2 years and $2 million. Well, Ron was convinced that this product was a real barn burner, and the feedback he was getting from the field was that they could really do something with this. So he was determined to find an alternative. You know, the $2 million wasn't really necessarily a showstopper, but the 2 years, yeah, that was a brick wall. Well, he was determined to find an alternative, and at the time, my company, TriMark Technologies, had just finished the first client service solution for policy administration. We had it in production at our first client, Keyport Life in Boston, now part of Sun Life. They had been using it for about a year, and they really liked the results they were getting. So Ron decided to buy our solution. And I promised Ron that we would get it installed in his shop within 90 days with his new product included. Well, we met our date, Ron met his date, and this product was a huge success. That solution eventually supported over 1 million policies, $20 billion in assets. So Ron was indeed a success. But just think about the decision he had to make. He had to decide, in order to preserve the business opportunity offered by this new product, he had to make a real tough choice. He had to decide to bring in a totally new administration system, just for one product. And that was by far the most expensive alternative. You know, considering the additional cost of annual maintenance and upkeep for a whole second administration system, that was by far the most expensive. But, you know, time to market and business growth is that important. If you're running a business of any kind, growth is the #1 priority. And if you're running a life company, you know, growth means more in-force policies. And there's generally only 3 ways to do that. You either buy another carrier, you buy a block of business that's already in force, or you create a new product. that'll appeal to some market. But no matter which path you take, us IT folks get more stuff to do. We either get to shoehorn another product into our legacy software, or we get to come up to speed on yet another piece of software, another legacy system. Our life insurance leaders are forced into decisions like that all the time. A recent survey by Computer Sciences Corporation found that the average mid to large size carrier already has 4 systems or more, and many have 10 or more systems. We just have to live with all those systems. In every case, the business rules and logic for the policy values calculations are embedded in complex programs, too costly to recode and merge into a single system. So we just live with all those systems. If it didn't take so long to add new products to our legacy software, no carrier would have more than one. So why does it take so long? Well, in a sense, we're a victim of our own success. We have so successfully been able to adopt new technology and new ways of thinking about policy values that we've ended up with some really complex products, of course, very nice, but also some very complex programs. This is a simple schematic of a typical legacy system. The little squares represent programs, and the arrows represent the logic path that a typical financial transaction might take for each of 3 different products. Now you might notice that there's several of these squares that are used by lots of different products, common programs. Well, in reality, a typical legacy system has a lot more than 3 plans of insurance. The typical legacy system in reality will support dozens of different products, not just 3, and some of them support hundreds of different products, each one different in some little way. So these common programs that are used by all these products have to support lots of different options, many dozens of different options. The last legacy system I worked on had over 150 different options just for loans. And guess what I was doing? I was adding more loan options for another new product. So when you add a new product to a legacy system, you have to walk what I call the legacy gauntlet. It all begins when the pricing spreadsheet is ready, and plus all of the other accompanying documentation. And we're all familiar with the nightmare of diving into those old complex programs and the need to find, train, and retain experts in all that software. Those old programs have had layer after layer of modifications applied over the years. It takes weeks to analyze, modify, test, not to mention the need to regression test the whole system when we're done, just to make sure we haven't broken some other product that used to work. Well, that is the 40 weeks in a nutshell. So what do we do about it? How can we fix this? How do we get this down to just a manageable week or 2 project to support new products? Well, first of all, we get rid of the gauntlet. We don't even go there. Just stop doing that. How refreshing is that? Now, when you have to manage a lot of information on your desktop and perform some calculations on it, what tool do you use? Excel, right? The whole world uses Excel, all for the same reason. It's just many times faster than any other way. You know how when you have all of your data in your spreadsheet and all the formulas in there just right, then you change the value of one dependent cell, the whole thing just revalues itself? How powerful is that? Well, what if we say the spreadsheet is the policy? What if every policy was just a spreadsheet? Of course, you'd have all the basic policy information in the spreadsheet and a table of accumulated financial transactions. then anytime you added another financial transaction, the whole thing would just automatically revalue itself. How beautiful. So why don't we use the standard low-risk tools that we already use every day and just make every policy a spreadsheet? Why don't we take the pricing spreadsheet that already has 95% of everything we need to calculate all policy values for this product and just plug it directly in to the legacy software. Plug it right in. Voila. Wonderful things begin to happen. New products in days. Okay, so how do we make this work? Well, we create what I call a spreadsheet engine. Now, the purpose of the spreadsheet engine is just to communicate between the legacy world and the spreadsheet world. We modify the legacy system so that anytime it gets a financial transaction for a new product, instead of processing it like it normally does, instead it will send it to the spreadsheet engine. And the spreadsheet engine will in turn find the spreadsheet that's responsible for that particular policy and insert the new financial transaction. It'll allow the spreadsheet to revalue itself, and then it'll return any updated values that are needed back to the legacy system. Now, the process of adding a new product altogether is just a matter of taking the pricing spreadsheet. Remember, it already has 95% of everything we need, but then take this pricing spreadsheet and add to it any functionality that's required that isn't already there, and then make that a template, make it a product template. Then, when the legacy system gets an app for a new policy for this new product, that app is sent to the spreadsheet engine. Spreadsheet engine then takes a copy of this product template and creates a new policy spreadsheet out of it. That new policy spreadsheet then will be responsible for maintaining the policy values for that new policy throughout its duration. So that's it. Simple as that. With that done, there's no more complex programs, no more gauntlet, no more long lead times for new products to be supported. Lots of wonderful things. You know, as we've seen, we don't need a 5% improvement. We need another giant leap forward for productivity and efficiency. That's the only way we can get rid of this 40 weeks that the LIMRA study indicated we have. So, we've been there before, though. We have integrated new ways of thinking about policy values a number of times in the past, always with success. In the beginning, the paper was the policy. Policy information existed only in paper form. All policy calculations were done manually, and obviously simple products. Then, the punch card was the policy. For the first time ever, we could store some policy information in digital form. So we had large decks, policy master file, updated nightly with the values updated nightly and printed on green bar paper for the business units to use the next day. And because we have some computing power now, we can start thinking about some more complex products. The disk drive is the policy. We now have random access to our policy master file. All the business user has to do is key in the policy number on this fancy new CRT and get the values for that policy displayed immediately online. Values are still just current, though, as of the night before. We still don't have enough computing power for real-time processing. But we could start thinking about more complex products like Universal Life. Network is the policy. Well, beginning with the client server and on through today's network, we suddenly have an abundance of computing power. Real-time processing is enabled. The business user just enters a financial transaction online and it's processed immediately with values updated immediately. And because we have enough computing power, we can support relational database, and data can reside anywhere. We can walk around through the data by agent, by insured, by policy, however we like. But we end up, because of this additional computing power and additional capability and technology, we have some really complex products, which is wonderful for marketing. But we also end up with some really complex programs, which forces long lead times for new products. So it's time for spreadsheet is the policy. No more long lead times. No more complex programs. No more gauntlet. Will this work? I know it will. I've done all the pieces before. There's nothing really new here for me. But you may not be sure. You may not be so sure. Or you may not even agree. But if you even think there's a remote possibility that this might work, you should give it a try. It doesn't cost much to find out. Just start a small pilot project. Try those things that you think are high risk. See if they work. If they don't work, you can cut it short. Don't waste the money. But what if it does work? Think about that. What if it does work? Of course, we get rid of the gauntlet, but that's not the most important part. If it does work, the most important part is your management team captures wickedly effective product power to dominate the market. They can now create innovative new products that the competition can't even begin to duplicate. You can always say yes to any product without even giving a thought to how it's going to be supported. Because if your product actuary can price it in the spreadsheet, you can support it. And you can support it in just days. So give it a try. I think you'll really like it. And if you have any questions at all, or need any help at all making this happen for your business, I'll be happy to help in any way I can. So just give me a call. I hope you found the ideas in my video to be helpful. I think almost anyone would agree that from a time to market and policy administration perspective, we need some fundamental change to the way we calculate policy values. And I think the spreadsheet engine is that change. So I'd like to give you some idea, or at least my idea, of the resources required and the technology to use, and basically how to get started creating a spreadsheet engine. Now, since each new policy will be a spreadsheet, I hope you're not envisioning thousands of spreadsheets flying all around your offices out of control, because that's definitely not the case. Just like your policy master file today, these spreadsheets will be locked down in a secure database, never to be accessed directly by business users, only by your policy administration software. They would be managed and controlled by Microsoft SharePoint. SharePoint enables all of the security controls required by IT, and it's already used by almost all life companies today to manage documents like spreadsheets. Now, the Spreadsheet Engine is a new piece of software to be created using Microsoft .NET Framework tools. Now, of course, you don't want to turn your business upside down. If you think the Spreadsheet Engine might be helpful, then we need to prove it. We need to prove it without spending a great deal of time and without spending a fortune. So the first thing to do is build a small prototype. The purpose of the prototype would be to just test out those areas where you think there's high risk. Once the concept is validated, then complete the spreadsheet engine. Now, the engine itself is going to require expert level qualifications in 4 different areas. Number one is SharePoint, Microsoft SharePoint, because the engine is a SharePoint application. Second is Microsoft Excel, because the engine has to manipulate, do some pretty complex things with spreadsheets. And the third is Microsoft .NET Framework, because the engine is a .NET program. And last is life insurance administration. I think an extensive background in life insurance administration software is pretty much required to do this successfully. Now, my partners and I at Accelerate have all of those qualifications. Plus, we have extensive experience creating spreadsheet engines. So we can lend a hand with any part of this project, anywhere from helping you get started to doing the whole thing on a turnkey basis. Now, if we were to do the whole thing for you, I would anticipate a time frame of 1 to 2 months to do the prototype, depending on your requirements, of course, and then an additional about 4 months to complete the engine. So you can see it's not really a huge project and would only require a couple of Accelerate personnel. But regardless of whether you want to get us involved or not, if you have any questions at all of any kind about how this works or how to make this work for your business, please just give me a call.